Good morning to you, Jonathan.
Hello, Julia.
Hello. Can it be possible for two different groups of people to describe the same meeting in such different ways, or were you actually all sitting in different rooms?
No, it's entirely possible. I'll tell you why. The meeting was positive in tone. It was friendly. It was engaging. And we discussed a lot of substantive things. But it was short on outcomes, and it was short on concrete actions which we put forward to address the problem of anti-Semitism in Labour. Jeremy Corbyn's admitted, and last night went further in admitting there was a problem and saying that those who said it was all a smear were wrong. So the first task, I guess, is to accept you've got a problem. But the next challenge is then to take on measures to deal with it. Otherwise, the problem continues. So we set out a whole series of measures a month ago, in fact, in correspondence. So we didn't just bounce them into the meeting yesterday. And we were saddened and disappointed that none of them got taken up by the Labour leader.
And these measures that you're asking for are things along the lines of a fixed timetable to deal with anti-Semitism cases, particularly with these long-standing cases involving Ken Livingstone in particular and Jackie Walker. I mean, Ken Livingstone's been suspended for the best part of 2 years now. A requirement that no Labour MP should share a platform with somebody expelled or suspended from the party for anti-Semitism, and adopting the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance definition of anti-Semitism, and also transparent oversight of disciplinary procedures. I think a lot of people who are just watching this would think these were fairly easy measures for any party leader to agree to. So why didn't he agree, in your view?
Well, I wish I knew 2 Labour MPs at least I've seen on Twitter today saying these were reasonable measures. You know, we really worked hard in calibrating them, absolutely not asking for too much, actually asking for the minimum. And I don't understand why any of these measures are particularly troubling or difficult. So the question why you didn't adopt them is a very worrying one. Best asked for Jeremy Corbyn. But
well, I would ask Jeremy Corbyn, indeed a member of his front bench, if they were willing to talk about this to me this morning. But I'd love to know, Jonathan Arkush, what you, as a representative of the Jewish community in this country, why you think Jeremy Corbyn won't take the action that the Jewish community, and including many Jewish MPs and non-Jewish MPs who've stood up in the House of Commons last week, are asking him to do. Why do you personally believe he's not taking that action?
I'm worried, Julia, frankly, that it's because his heart isn't in it, that his political soulmates are those on the far left, and they include Jackie Walker and Ken Livingstone, and he doesn't want firm action to be taken against them or the people who share their views. I'm worried that he doesn't want independent oversight of Labour's disciplinary process because he knows it will be critical of Labour. I'm worried that he doesn't want to take on the international definition of anti-Semitism agreed between governments and adopted by 126 local councils in the UK, including many Labour ones, because it includes discourse about Israel, which is extreme. And he's giving the signal he hasn't got a problem with extreme discourse about Israel. So it's very troubling indeed.
Well, this is the issue. Are you saying then that actually he agrees, or he certainly doesn't have a problem with a lot of the things that these people are saying, are doing, are tweeting, are putting up on Facebook? In which case, are we skirting around the issue that Jeremy Corbyn's problem with anti-Semitism could possibly be because he himself is anti-Semitic?
Well, I prefer to say not that he is anti-Semitic, but that he is blind to the anti-Semitic discourse that is all around him. That's as far as I would go.
Why is he blind to it?
Because he subscribes to the ideology of the far left, which has these very fixed points of reference. And the problem with any political extreme is that it has fixed points of reference which you fix onto despite the rationality or the facts around you. That's the problem with extreme points of view, and I'm very, very concerned that Jeremy Corbyn is too attached to them, as he has been all his adult life.
We heard what a number of Jewish Labour MPs had to say in the House of Commons. Some are brought to tears, standing ovations from other MPs for their openness about the abuse they suffered, and include non-Jewish MPs like John Mann, who have spoken about anti-Semitism and challenged the likes of Ken Livingstone on these issues. But they've actually got a position where they can actually get protection from the police and the like. How worried, how scared are members of the Jewish community in this country right now over this perceived rise in anti-Semitism and a sort of the shoulder shrugging that seems to be going on at the top of the Labour Party, leader of the opposition, possible future Prime Minister Jeremy Corbyn, about the rise of anti-Semitism?
For the first time in my life, I have experienced repeatedly conversations over the dinner table that are asking questions amongst normal, ordinary Jewish folk. Are we safe here? And I think that answers your question. And these questions are occurring more and more in circles that never before questioned whether Jewish people could live in our country in safety. And we're only the same as everybody else. We're British people.
Absolutely.
Part of the furniture in this country for hundreds of years. The difference between us is that we may go to synagogue on a Saturday or not, or church instead of church on a Sunday or not, and we're British, and we don't see why these attitudes should be allowed to run rampant as they are, apparently, in Labour under Jeremy Corbyn.
Jonathan Arkush, I have to say, I got goosebumps when you said people are asking, are we safe here? I think everybody, every right-thinking person in this country would be appalled at the idea that anyone, any particular religious or ethnic group, would ever worry that they could be safe in this country, of all the countries in the world where we've prided ourselves on welcoming people and allowing people freedom to worship and to live freely. What can be done? What can the rest of the country do? What can ordinary people like me do? What can other politicians do? What can Labour MPs do? What can be done to make sure that Jewish people in this country aren't asking if they're safe and if they have to leave this country?
Well, you're right to feel goose pimples, and anyone who read the heart-wrenching article by John Mann's daughter on Sunday in the Sunday Times about the threats of physical violence, rape, really ugly. She's not even Jewish. She's not even said anything. It's her father who is a fighter against racism, and she has been subject to violent physical threats because of her father's anti-racist stand. So what can be done? First, you've got to change the climate within Labour so that everyone in Labour knows that this sort of discourse will be stamped on.
Does Jeremy Corbyn have to say, you're not welcome in my party, get out?
Yes. Jeremy Corbyn has said people who exhibit extreme anti-Semitic behaviour, there should be no room for them in the party. We say, Jeremy, that's fine, then do it.
And I interrupt you, your second point, what people need to do?
Change the climate, take on processes that are adequate, such as the minimum measures that we have set out for him, and also, and we appealed to Jeremy Corbyn, make this your personal issue and give a lead, not just in words, but in actions.
Jonathan Arkush, thank you so much for speaking to us. President of the Board of Deputies of British Jews, welcome your reactions to what he had to say. I genuinely, as a Briton of no faith, I am so ashamed. I am so ashamed that anyone in this country, whether they are Jewish, Muslim, Sikh, Hindu, Christian, anything, should ever be fearful of living in this country because of their faith, or anyone because of their ethnic background, any community they feel they belong to. This is not what Britain is about. This is not my country. I'm ashamed. I am so ashamed that this should be happening in my country right now. I'd love to hear your reactions to this, because it makes me want to cry that we are in 2018 in a position where anybody should be sitting around the dinner table wondering if it's safe for them to live in the country in which they were born.